Okay, so we're asked to find the margin of error for a 95% 95% confidence interval estimate. So when you're constructing a confidence interval, you take a mean or a proportion or some other value, and then you're going to add and then also subtract, once for your upper bound, once for your lower bound. You take a value of t star if the population standard deviation is unknown, and in most cases it's not known. Then multiply it by the standard deviation over the square root of n. So this is the confidence interval formula when you're using t, okay? The student's t distribution. This right here is the margin of error. So if they ask you to calculate margin of error, that's all you have to calculate. You don't have to calculate the whole confidence interval. So t star is what we should start with. I think this sticks with just like what we saw in the previous sections. They're giving us values for t that tell us area to the left. Okay, so if you want a 95% confidence interval, that means you want to have 95% of your distribution in the center. So that means you need to have 2.5% over here and 2.5% over here. Okay, there's got to be a split there. 2.5% on the left, 2.5% on the right. So when we look it up in the table, we want to find a t value that represents 0.025 to match those tails. So that's why we're going with this column. And then the row we use, the degrees of freedom, is just n minus 1 for one sample mean. So our sample size, there was 20 workers. If you subtract it by 1, we have 19. So degrees of freedom was 19. And 0.025, the area of the tail is 0.025, so that means our t value is going to be 2.093. And then we have a standard deviation of 6 minutes and a sample size of 20. So all I have to do is, to find the margin of error, is finish crunching those numbers. So you could simplify however you like. I'm gonna do the square root of 20 first. I'm gonna copy that to my clipboard, then do 6 divided by the pasted value, and then multiply by 2.093. So I get 20.59 for a confidence interval, which is pretty big. I think I did something wrong. 20 square root 6 divided by, I think I hit times. There we go. That makes more sense. 2.808, and how many? 2 decimal places, so 2.81 is what we're going to put here. Okay, so for that margin of error, all you have to do is calculate this portion. That's your margin of error. So a follow-up question is, what's the margin of error? Sorry, not what's the margin of error. What's the confidence interval? So we just found the margin of error was 2.81 when we rounded. So that's the one we got to use. The sample mean was 21, so that means we're doing plus or minus 2.81. So to find the lower bound of the confidence interval, you just take 21 and subtract 2.81 from it. It gives us 18.19. And then we do 21 plus 2.81. That makes 23.81. So there's our confidence interval. Okay, I think that's it for this.